Where do they say to find sympathy in the dictionary?
Between shit and syphilis. Boom! And welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Mitch Hall Chevrolet in Haskell, Texas, where I buy all my vehicles. Check them out at mitchhallhaskell.com. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the world famous Andy Shaver.
Listen, don't be pushing too much. Be easy over there.
Andy,
you got something. You got an ailment. You can't be yelling today.
I'm gonna muscle through this.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
I think, folks, I'm dying. With us today has to be the king of the sea duck hunting on the East Coast, the pit boss, Jeff Coates. Jeff, how are you doing, sir?
Good morning. Very kind. Thank you.
So, God almighty. Hit me again. I've never had a kidney stone, folks, and I think that's what I'm battling through here, and I hope I'm not. Oh, Jesus. So,
I do hope you feel better. It's not fun.
I do appreciate that very much. I see you got your decoy making stuff behind you. Are you carving decoys right now?
There it is.
What are we working on right now?
A little bit of everything. I got went through, sold quite a few of the sea ducks, the surf scoter, the common scoter. There's an order of green wing teal in here. There's some canvasbacks over to my right shoulder that are sitting ready to be painted. Just a little bit of everything. We right out of duck season, we ran to South Carolina. Duck season ended 31st of January. So we stayed here a couple days, and we went to warmer temperatures in South Carolina to do some dog training. Came back for a week or so, like a week and a half. I did carve. We went back down, and we just came back from South Carolina yesterday. So definitely sitting out here is very high on my priority list.
How is how was your season compared to everyone else's?
So I would say, if I had to rate it, average to below average. It's the kind of thing where I would tell somebody, hey, man, it was really slow this morning. And they said, well, how many did you shoot? I said, we shot 16, but we didn't see 75, that kind of thing. What we saw decoyed nice, they shot their limits. But as far as the overall volume of birds, it's definitely been down for me the past couple of years.
So the sea duck hunting also is manipulated by the weather like everything else is then?
It does. The early season scoter, really, they fly on the calendar, so they're not really weather driven. Then, the peak migration here off the ocean, I would say it used to be the last week of October, first week of November, when it was a 107-day season. Obviously, we could be out there for that because it was always open. But now there is no special sea duck season, so I'm kind of behind. We have a week in October before that, and then 2 weeks between East and Waterfowl Festival and Thanksgiving. And so I do take advantage of that, if you want to say the peak of the migration. But yeah, once they're here, they're here. But scoter do kind of tend to fly on the calendar and not weather.
Man, everybody we've talked to this year has just talked about how tough this year was. Inland, outland, just everywhere.
And again, it's kind of stupid for me to say, it was slow. And everybody says, well, again, well, how slow was it? We shot our limit. They're like, well, what are you talking about? Yeah, we just saw a fraction of the birds of what we normally would see. That's all.
Yeah. I read some literature yesterday, and it was talking about worldwide duck population. And it was talking about South America. Their numbers are way down. Europe and China, the numbers are way, way, way down. So it's a global thing right now on bird numbers. Not on winter, but on bird numbers. And they've lost so much habitat everywhere you go. I guess South America is in a horrible drought they've been in for a couple of years, and that's really affected their numbers. And so I know the duck and goose numbers are down everywhere, and then we haven't had any winter to go with it. But I did not know how the sea duck population is. The sea duck numbers down also then?
Yes, and that's one of the reasons why so way back in the day when I first duck hunted in the Atlantic Flyway, our duck season, regular ducks, it was a 30-day 3-bird limit. So that would have been in the late 80s. But the sea duck season was still 107 days, and then it was seven ducks. And over the years, again, they've reduced that special sea duck season. Well, our regular duck season bumped up to 60 days, 6 birds, and the sea duck season was still 107 days. But they've reduced the 107-day special sea duck season to a 60-day special sea duck season. And then for like the last, I'll say this is probably the 5th season, there is no more special sea duck season on the Atlantic Flyway. So when ducks, whatever state you're in, when ducks are open, sea ducks, are targeted during the duck season. So now we still have 60 days, but it's just when regular ducks are open. But I do think we do see less birds.
You got crown? Is that a Crown Royal box back there? Off your
Probably
right
somewhere.
shoulder.
Right? Is it that one there?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, the backside. Yeah, there's a couple. It's a Crown Black box. The 175s are coming up in a pretty decent box, and I do kind of collect some Crown Royal boxes. So
Is that your?
I don't drink it. I
Okay.
just collect the boxes.
Okay, all right. I was gonna ask if that was your whiskey of choice.
No, it is actually.
Crown Royal is?
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
We
well,
go
else
daily. Like last night, as soon as we got home driving, opened up. Matter of fact, here's a little. I don't know how familiar you guys are, but 175s were in handles. They don't do handles anymore. And in South Carolina, we found a shop that actually had some 175s, a Crown Black handle. So I opened up a box. They don't come in boxes anymore either. So it's just in the box that's behind me. There's just 6 bottles they're not even in bags anymore. So we actually found the old school handle bag or a box that the bottle was in a bag inside the box. So I broke one of those open when we got home last night.
why don't they sell the handles? I wonder. Do they not sell that as much of it anymore, or?
No, if you saw the boxes side by side with no handle, the bottle is actually a little taller, smaller, and overall, I would assume for shipping and boxing, it's a much smaller package, even though it's still 1.75 liter bottles. But there's still 6 of them in there. But the overall case box is smaller, and it actually is like a cheaper, lighter weight cardboard these days. It's not. The old boxes are heavy duty.
Everything's getting cheaper. Cheaper
But
made.
everywhere you look, it does.
But it costs more. Cheaper made and it costs more.
It has bumped up over the years a little bit.
What's it at now?
Locally here, a 175 is about $64 a bottle. We were finding in South Carolina about 58.
And it's Crown Royal 1.75.
Yes,
Let me look.
black.
Black. Oh, Crown Royal.
There's a little price difference between the flavors. I was kind of surprised in South Carolina. Many of the shops, whatever flavor they had a 175 and they had a 750 next to each other. And here we would not quite see that, but I was kind of, the displays were kind of impressive.
I went in Specs on Monday, which is a liquor. I don't know if y'all have them in South Carolina or on the East Coast, but anyway, Specs is a big liquor store chain. And I went in it the other day, and what shocks me is, and I'm not a big drinker, but I drink a little bit, but I don't. When I walked in there, I was telling that guy, the manager, I was looking for something Michelle wanted. Actually, I was getting something for my daughter-in-law, Andy's wife. And I told the guy, I said, it just blows my mind, a liquor store. My dad was a drinker, so I grew up going to a liquor store all the time. How many more choices you have as a drinker compared to what they had 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and 40 years ago. They got every freaking type of flavor for everything. And I went in there to get, what's that drink that the seltzers that Jesse and Mom
White Claw.
No, it wasn't White Claw. It was the other one.
Cutwater.
Cutwater. So I went in there to get Cutwater, and they had another brand in there, and I had to get it too. There's 18 different types of seltzer water now that's flavored booze for these ladies. It's just crazy. I remember. How old are you, Jeff?
Sadly, I'm going to be 61 here shortly.
We're the same age. I'm 58, so we're in the same deal. You remember when California Coolers and Bartles and James come out, and that was the only wine cooler you could find.
Yep.
And that was.
Yep. I remember the commercials. They'd be sitting. I can't remember something. I'm Bartles and I'm James or something sitting on the front porch. I do remember that.
Yeah, them 2 old men. And it's crazy what that's turned into now. It's everywhere. And the number one selling liquor in America is High Noon, and I've never even tasted one of those.
I can't tell you that I have either.
Yeah, and that's the number one selling booze in this country.
I think it's a seltzer also.
It is. It is a seltzer
like
water, and they got like 50 different flavors of shit.
I think it's just a seltzer. It's just a hard seltzer. Same as like White Claw and
Right,
stuff.
but it's the number one selling concoction in America right now.
Really?
Yep.
I think Portnoy might own that. Dave Portnoy from Barstool.
That's a smart man. Sold his business for $500 million and then bought it back for $1.
I lied.
Who owns it? Seagram's?
E&J Gallo Winery.
Oh, just another wine.
Never heard of them.
So what's life like on the East Coast right now? I saw a guy sent me a message today, one of my clients, a good friend of mine, that there's a big deer going thing in Maryland where they're not going to let you hunt deer no more in some places. Did you see that?
And we've been away for a few weeks. I'm out of touch with that one. I don't shoot deer, but one thing, daily seems like sitting in the boat talking, many people do, on a regular license in Maryland without me buying anything extra. If you take advantage of all the ways you can harvest deer, I can shoot 55 deer. And I think in the 55, 9 of those could be sika deer. And if you like to shoot bow, there's some state parks that they'll let you shoot pretty much as many doe as you'd like. And if state didn't think they shot enough, late season they'll do another like a 3-day or 5-day muzzleloader season to get people back out in the woods. But I don't hunt deer, so I'm a little bit out of touch with that. But I have not heard that.
Yeah, there's something coming up. He sent me a deal today, and I just kind of glanced over it, and I was driving, and I can't read and drive very well. And it said that it was more or less that they was trying to take away a bunch of deer hunting. And he said, if we don't do that, you won't even be able to drive it. I'm assuming Maryland is just overloaded with deer.
I think is this like referring to like snipers at night? I did hear something. I did hear something about it recently where like some of these I know around Baltimore City, some of the reservoirs or some big time homes that are around these reservoirs that they have a service drive through at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. and basically shoot deer while people are sleeping. And nobody knows this is taking place. And I did hear something about that where they wanted to open up the opportunity for people to hunt deer versus using a service that they have to pay for.
I just now really got a chance to look at it. They're banning all lead. You cannot use lead to shoot deer in Maryland now. That's what it was.
I did. A friend of mine this morning, he led me to believe. I did not hear that. A friend called me this morning and said, did I hear? He's from Virginia. He said, did I hear that? And I just kind of thought it was maybe like more of a gun control kind of thing where they said, you can have a handgun, but you couldn't own lead bullets kind of thing. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
copper bullets.
You're going to have to go to copper. California does it, but California's excuse was that the condors would somebody would shoot a deer and it would run off somewhere and die and had lead poisoning, and the condor would come and eat and it would get lead poisoning. So, but are they going to use lead on fishing weight still? I've never understood where they bitch about that, but then every fisherman's got a lead fishing weight. So why that's not bad? How many fish swallow lead and then an eagle eats that, or a seagull or something? It's the same type. It's the same deal, and that for some reason it gets a free pass.
I agree with you on that.
So that's kind of interesting.
It's just weird, the lines that we draw.
I was talking about you in Mexico, so I'm on a golf cart in Isla Majera with a guy that's got a beard about like you, white, colored too, about your same age, a gentleman named Stacy Coker.
Ah, yes. I've had Stacy aboard.
Stacy told me that, and Stacy said, them guys don't shoot very good with Jeff. He said, I shot pretty good. A lot of them guys couldn't shoot very good. But Stacy's a good friend of mine, but we were talking about you in Mexico 3 weeks ago, riding around in golf carts with our wives. And we started talking about you. And he said he'd hunted up there. And I said, that's always been a dream of mine to go hunt with Jeff, but I just don't have time during hunting season. And I told him, I said, I see those people miss all the time. And I said, Jeff told me one time, he said, well, that boat's up and down all the time. Stacy goes, people just aren't very good shots is what the problem is. I said, well, I can see that.
Yeah. I mean, I all the stuff that I do, my intent is not to make fun of people. And I do try to, not be derogatory with their shooting. But yeah, a lot of times that is the case that, somebody's just having issues shooting them. But no, man, Stacy was a good time. I can recall he shot a pretty decent colored Drake Common Eider when he was with us.
He told me
which is kind of it's kind of a rarity for us. I remember he shot one of those nice. I think he maybe was in the big boat, the newest boat, I think. I know he is. I know he is because he took one of the Foamzilla decoys with him. So that would have been, it's been within the last 5 years he was here, I bet you.
Now, is he a better shot than Trevor Shanahan is?
I've had Trevor aboard also. Each day is different. How about that? Is that a good political correct answer? Honestly too, I can recall with Trevor's, I think he's been here twice. if it's flat, if the ocean's flat, I can't be as close to the decoys and the birds. The shots are further, the flatter that it is. So it kind of depends to which, what the weather is, how the waves are, to how close I can actually get the boat to the decoys. The ducks are only going to come so close. So it is a little bit of a finesse, depending on what the weather is, how close we can be.
I've been on that side of the coin though, where like you said, birds were not the numbers weren't what they have been, and you're just like, guys, like. We're running out of resources here. So if we don't get this done here quickly, we're just going to run out of birds to see. And it's kind of just got to be a no bullshit conversation.
Yeah. And it's kind of too where it's a lot of times I think I kind of get the eyebrow raised when we go out. And I was like, there are no duck. Where I'm taking you, there are no ducks. And they're like, well, what are you talking about? It's like, well, there's nothing sitting. We're in between where they start and where they're going to end up. So we are dependent on the birds do have to fly. We're not pass shooting them, but we're definitely kind of, if you want to say traffic, migrating, whatever, traveling birds, whatever you want to call it. But we're kind of in between where they start the morning and the dark and where they're going to end up later in the day. So it is that we do need to see a certain amount of birds fly because it does end.
Now, will they go back? So like you said, you're in between where they are roosting and where they're going out. Will they go back to where they roosted later in the afternoon or the evening, or does that bounce around also?
No, it's more of like a migration, if you will. Especially early season, pretty much the majority of what we see would be traveling from the north to the south. Mid-season, it's kind of a 50-50 mix. And then once we get into January, the majority of the birds are really coming from the south headed north. So if you take a look at a map or a chart, Ocean City is below the mouth of the Delaware Bay, and it's north of the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay in Virginia. So the Delaware Bay is about 45 miles to the north, and the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay is, we drove across it yesterday. There was a few scoters sitting on the Bay Bridge Tunnel down there, but that's about 120 miles to the south of us. So they're really just kind of trading back and forth.
I got you. So it's a migration thing. It's not necessarily they're there. Or they're not there to stay.
It's late season. There will be some birds start to sit around like our inlet. The problem is the past couple of years with it being milder and fishing just kind of, everybody's got spot lock, trolling motors and that type of thing. And people fish the inlet more and more and more. The birds, it doesn't really give the birds a chance to kind of start to use the inlet or congregate there because they don't really, the birds do not tolerate, the boats and people sitting there fishing.
Really? They just bounce out?
Yeah, man, they just kind of these guys, specifically the Scoter, are all diving. They're going to swallow mussels and clams whole. So on the jetties, the rocks, the blue mussels attach themselves to those rocks, so they're real close to the rocks, feeding, diving and feeding on those things. And at the same time, if a boat's sitting there fishing those same rocks for tog or whatever fish they're trying for, the ducks just don't tolerate those boats there.
I'll tell you what, you're in a perfect setup though. Everybody wants to shoot on the X, but if you can be between the roost and the X and you've got the right stuff, you can shoot there all the time and let those birds stay in that X and they feel rested. Nothing ever fucks with them. And I think that's a great thing.
100%. That's what guys will tell me too. Like in embasement, like you sit here every day. I said, within maybe 500 yards of this, sure, because I'm sure, early season and then late season, we probably do see some of the same birds, but daily we're not shooting the same birds.
Not much education that way.
No.
Now,
Good.
Do the ducks crack open the mussels? This is my dumb question for the day. They crack open and eat the meat?
They swallow them inside. They're tough birds, man. They're crushing these things inside.
That's a good question because I was your same thing.
Because I know the geese, whenever they eat in the peanut fields, whenever you push the food out or whatever, the peanuts are cracked, so they're only eating what's inside of it. So I didn't know what the ducks were doing with these mussels.
You haven't ever seen goose swallow whole peanuts?
I'm telling you, every time I take peanuts out of a goose's throat, craw, whatever, it's cracked.
Well, when you think about it, when we see the fields, though, their holes are everywhere, too.
There's holes everywhere.
But I've also seen them swallow them, too, though.
I've not ran across that when they were on the cleaning table. And I've cleaned a lot more geese than you.
Oh, I promise you have.
Sea ducks are swallowing it, but they're eating, they're swallowing it whole. They're not cracking it and discarding the shell. And that's one reason why, kind of the smaller, they need to eat more of them, but the smaller the shells are, the less amount of shell there, less effort it is for them to, crush them. And then, they're going to dissolve those shells somewhat, and they're going to pass them out the back end.
Are the gizzards big on them suckers then?
Got a decent size, yes. I've heard you talk about Seattle and Washington, that kind of thing. We see duck hunting there way in the past, and using the ferry system, you had some downtime. And I've got a couple pictures of a Drake surf scoter eating a blue mussel that would be the size that you and I would want to eat, and he sat there and fought to get that, to choke that thing down. But I'm telling you, it was as looking at the bills. I mean, it had to be. It was every bit the length of his bill, and he worked hard to swallow that thing whole. And they're crushing them inside.
Do the guys eat the gizzards on the sea ducks also?
No. I'm kind of rolling my eyes a little bit. No, sea ducks get a bad rap as far as their taste. They're not going to be fishy. They're going to be they're very iron rich blood, so they're going to be very livery. They're very dark meat. If you take the time to soak them out, the meat's very edible, but it is going to be on that darker liver taste profile kind of thing. They're strong in that sense, but they're not fishy. They're just iron rich blood.
My dad would have loved them then. He loved that stuff.
How long do you have to let them soak for?
Like, and changing the water out, like maybe a good 2 days.
Oh, okay.
And you can, and I mean, when you would put them in and you take them out, they lose 50% of their color if you take the time to do it.
Yeah. I know with geese, we try to do like if we're going to have them for dinner that night, we try to start soaking them around lunchtime. So about 6 hours is all. And, change that water out 2-3 times in those 6 hours or so. And it gets most of it out.
Yeah. They get a bad rap, all the jokes about, put them on a board and eat the board, not the breast or not the meat kind of thing. But if you take the time to prepare them, they're very edible. And
then what would you do? Just throw them on the grill after they've soaked for 2 days?
You could do that. We have a couple of different recipes. One would be kind of the old go-to, the jalapeno and some bacon. They go very well with that. The other thing is, and we used to do this kind of tailgating with some decoy shows where basically like strip them up. There's it's a dry breading, not a batter, but a dry house Autry seafood breading. And then like pan fry medium. Like they're people are eating it up and have a little dipping sauce beside it. And they're like, well, what, everybody brings something different. And what's this? And you're eating Scoter, and they wouldn't believe that they were eating Scoter. The other thing, side note to all this, I think one thing too really helps them out if you're going to freeze them is that if you Ziploc them and put them, like freeze them in water so they're not frozen dry, if you will. I think that helps them out. Or if you vacuum pack them, obviously. But if you're going to do it on the fly, do it quick. A Ziploc bag and put some water in there and try to get the air out. I think that they last better and longer if they're frozen in water versus just frozen dry.
All the great food in the world that's right there where you're at, and someone would eat a sea duck. You've got lobster, you got clams, you got mussels, you got fish. Last thing on my menu would be a damn duck.
Well, the joke is I like to try to cook each morning, and some people just go with the flow and eat whatever it is. I put it in front of them. And they're like, hey, man, this tasted really good. Like they didn't even know what it was. Other guys would be like, what you got? I said, man, this is my best Scoter recipe. And some guys would be like, hey, man, I'm good. I don't need anything. And it's not. It would be a cream of crab or it's crabs or clam, kind of thing. But I'll mess around a little bit and say, oh, man, this is my best Scoter recipe. Some are very eager to try it. Other guys will be like, hey, man, I'm good. I'll pass.
I would try it just because I want to try when I go somewhere. I like to try it. I may just take one bite of it, but I would try to see. I ate a tongue taco the other day at a little place at Vernon. We went to a funeral, and it was really good. And I've had tongue sandwich before, but they had linga there, so I tried it on a taco. Shit was damn good. Andy's looking at me like, you wouldn't eat tongue? Andy, it's good.
I don't think I would purposefully eat tongue.
I tried it. It was very good. I would order it again.
Man, so my son shot his first deer this year, and we got it back from the processor and everything. I'm not a big venison guy. We've been trying to do like we've done hamburgers with them before. We put it in like spaghetti and stuff like that. I just don't think I'm that big of a fan.
That deer chili Tony makes is really good.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just telling you.
You're not a venison guy.
Nah, I don't think so. Like we have been like doing like a 50-50 mix with hamburger meat, and it's better that way. But he also shot it in January, so I don't know. I think it might have just been humping a lot and had all that. Well, I mean, you hear that they get quite stringy in January.
So you're telling me you did not enjoy it? You like lamb though, don't you?
In small batches.
See, I'm not a lamb or sheep guy, so. And I damn sure ain't eating goat again. I tried that once. I'm out on that.
How about some raw oyster?
I love raw oyster.
That's okay. I mean, it's not my favorite, but I don't mind it. It's really good with some hot sauce on it and a cracker.
We took a bunch south with us. They, South Carolina, they're not getting the same, I guess, the same quality oyster we get here. They went over very well. We took a bunch down. They last, keep them cold. They last for a couple of days easily. And we both times we went down, we took a bunch and they were consumed quickly.
My wife likes Oysters Rockefeller, and that's where they got the cream, the Parmesan, and is it broccoli on there too? She likes that. And there's a place called Drago's in New Orleans that does a charbroiled oyster, and they're really good. But I have a habit of reaching over and grabbing the oyster shell to eat it like raw and burn my freaking hand every time I eat that. I do that same thing. But they're good. I mean, it's not one of my favorite. If I had to choose to eat something in the ocean, an oyster would not be the first thing. And can you imagine how hungry the first guy had to be to eat one?
Or bored.
Yeah. I mean,
just that or, a blue claw crab, right? Like, it's gonna get you before you get it, probably. Who thought about it? Hey, that's got to be pretty good to eat there, right?
I've never had a soft shell crab like when they eat it on a sandwich, and everybody says they're really good when they shed the skeleton. I want to try that one day, but I've never been up there at the right time when they're shedding their skeletons. But they say that's really good.
It is. That's honestly, I would prefer to eat a soft shell than to sit and pick a hard shell.
Did you know that people that are allergic to shellfish are also allergic to cockroaches?
No,
I'm not lying. So Joe Rogan said they found that out on Fear Factor. They had people eating cockroaches, and they all had an allergic reaction. The people that had an allergic reaction, they started asking them about their history and everything, and they were all allergic to shellfish. So there is some lineage between the bugs in the ocean and the bugs that are on land. So think about that next time you eat a nice lobster or something. It's just a bug in the ocean.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to eat a cockroach, so.
It's just a bug on land is all it is, Jeff. You just got to open your horizons.
When I first got with Karen, she was big into sushi, and I was not a sushi fan. She, not that it was going to be a deal breaker, but she's like, hey, I'd really like you to try some sushi. I said, well, here's the deal. I said, you order it. Don't tell me what it is. And I said, I'll eat it. And I said, just don't tell me what I'm eating. And anyway, today I don't mind knowing what I eat, and I really do enjoy it. But at the time, like, I was not, it was hard pressed. And or oyster, like, she was big into eating oyster. And I was like, okay, I, kind of go with the flow with this. And it's I guess I've, kind of expanded my horizons here over the years. But like, I really do enjoy sushi now.
I love sushi, and so do my kids. And I don't know if that's a great habit for them to be in because it's pretty expensive.
I like California rolls. I don't consider that sushi. I'm not eating the raw. I've had it. I just do not like the raw fish stuff. And I love ceviche or however you're supposed to say it. But I just cannot eat like raw tuna. Or like the big slabs of it. And I don't know if I haven't had it made properly or whatever it is, but I just cannot eat it that well. But I love California rolls and some of the other rolls that they have. I really enjoy it. There's one that they do at one of the places close to us, which West Texas is not a place famous for sushi, but they do a raw beef one, like a Texas roll, and it's got raw beef on it, and it's really good. I like it, but I also like tartar.
Well, Jeff, when you're here shooting sea ducks, we will go to Crabs to Go and get a big old hunk of bluefin tuna, and they'll just kind of sear the sides real quick, so it'll have a little bit of heat to it, but in the middle it'll be raw, if you will, and I find it to be very tasty.
What do they season it with?
We would just honestly do salt and pepper if we're going to do it here at the house. So really just to kind of sear the edges. Maybe more of a like if you want to think of any kind of a beef seasoning. Karen's got a Saskatchewan steak rub that we will use on that also on that kind of thing too. But really just getting a little bit of heat in the side of it is, on both sides of it. And it is good. We were very proud of ourselves. We, new boat, we went out fishing. This has been years ago. We were probably like 40 miles offshore. We caught our first yellowfin tuna. And we both looked at the first one on board, looked at each other, and man, we got the knife out, cut into the tail, and we ate it basically as fresh as we thought we could. It was kind of it was very good, but we just kind of figured we had to do it just because we could say that first yellowfin tuna that we caught, we sat and we ate the thing pretty much as soon as it was on the boat. But,
and that's sashimi, right?
Yes.
Okay. See, I would try it. I've never had sashimi, so I would like to try it. But like I said, I love ceviche, which is basically just raw fish with
It is raw fish.
with citrus, to cook it with the citrus and stuff. And I love that. That's one of my favorite things to eat. So
I mean, pretty much any fish you can do it to, right?
Has to be a whitefish.
Oh, it has to be whitefish?
Nobody's ever done it with catfish, I think. I think it's got to be a whitefish.
Tuna.
I'm sorry, I was thinking more of like saltwater fish.
Yeah, most saltwater fish, I'm assuming you probably could. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. How often do you get people that get seasick on your boat?
Oh man, I would tend to say in a 6-day week, we don't have Sunday hunting here yet, waterfowl hunting yet, but in a 6-day week, quite often there's probably once a week somebody's maybe not feeling 100%, and it comes in varying degrees where I can kind of see somebody's face and thinking I don't want to say something to them, but like I can tell that person is definitely not feeling good, or they're just not engaged in the hunt. Kind of get their gun out slow. Everybody else is loaded up, ready to go, and they're kind of slow. And I have 2 buckets of board sitting up front, so instead of trying to reach over and throw up over the side, it's much easier to sit there and use a bucket. So I'm always yelling, "Hey, grab the bucket," kind of thing. But once a week, maybe there's somebody not feeling well.
That would suck. Is there any home remedy for that when you're on the boat?
There's guys, I tell you, the night before, they've already talked themselves into they're going to get sick. They start asking me, hey, this, that, and the other, all these questions about how far, how rough will I see land, all these kind of things. I do suggest, because I do think it's like a stomach acid kind of thing, go, even if it's something cheap, no name, like antacid tablets, eat some of those maybe to try to, kind of settle your stomach kind of thing. But I don't know, there's the product there called Bodine, Dramamine. There's the patches behind the ears. There's the pressure bracelets that you can wear too. I've never ever felt it. Early on, maybe I would tell you, it's kind of going to sound weird, but I'd come home in the afternoon and sit on the toilet, and I'd feel like we're still rocking and rolling from the morning. But that's probably, as far as motion goes, the only thing I've ever felt. I have guys tell me that they give multiple day hunt in the shower the first night, like they're in the shower and they felt like they were kind of moving for whatever reason. I've heard that quite often, actually. Still kind of feeling that motion from the ocean. But yeah, it is, it is something that happens.
I just wouldn't be drinking the night before.
I was on a ferry between Playa del Carmen and Cancun one time, or Cozumel, I guess. And we were coming back and it was pretty rough. And they said it's gonna be rough, blah blah. And they passed around. They had a Ziploc bag with cotton swabs in them, dipped in alcohol. And I'd never seen this before. And they would pass them down, and these people, the locals there, would take them out, and they would take one of these. And every time they'd start getting to, they'd sniff these alcohol with this cotton, and they say it helps a lot on it. I'd never heard of that before.
I've never heard of that either, but maybe that's something I need to have a couple of those in the boat.
Yeah, but it was just a Ziploc bag, because I asked, I go, what is that? And a lady that spoke English on there told me, she goes, it's just cotton swabs with rubbing alcohol. She says it makes them better. I never had heard that. I thought, well, I've only been seasick one time in my life, and it was in the Pacific fishing, and I was absolutely freaking miserable. I mean, we got one time about a mile from the coast, and I told the guy, I said, listen, if you can go about a half mile closer to the deal, if you'll let me out, I'll swim to the beach. And I said, I'll just lay on that beach. He goes, you're 20 miles from town. I said, I'll walk. I'm that miserable. I mean, it was absolutely the most miserable time of my life. And, you try to lay in the center of the boat and everything. There wasn't nothing you could do. Oh, it was terrible. And I think it was because I'd been drinking a lot the night before. But I'd never been seasick before that, but it was a miserable time.
I have had guys, the joke is about running them back in. Other guy, mixed. It depends on who they are, but let's say if it's a bunch of buddies, they'd be like, "Fuck that, man! You're here for the duration." So they're not too kind to them. Where other people would be like, "Hey Jeff, could you run him back?" I was like, "It's your hunt. Whatever you want to do, sure." If he's sitting there throwing up, he's probably going to be much happier sitting in the vehicle or going back to the hotel than sitting here throwing up all morning long. It's something you don't recover from. It's not like you throw up and, hey, I feel better. Yeah. Like it gets, you're empty and now you're just hearing that sound in the bucket of, that kind of thing. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't mind running somebody back. It's not that big of a boat ride, but sometimes guys are like brutal. Like, no, you're not taking him back. He's sitting here for the duration.
Are you a TV watcher?
A TV?
Yeah. Do you watch TV movies much or?
We're more like streaming, like Netflix and
Yes.
Paramount, and yes.
But I started watching a series that I've seen all summer long. It's Masters of the Air on Apple TV, and Steven Spielberg did it. And it's about World War II and the bombing of Germany out of London, England, and stuff. And the first episode I watched last night, and I really like this, and I hope I'm really good. I think this is going to be a series I really like. But had a kid, and he was the navigator on one of the planes, and he was motion sick and thrown up on that deal. And I thought, what a terrible freaking, you don't think about shit like that. He got air sick, and he's the navigator on a B-29 or whatever they were, and all the shit they go through. And I thought, man, you don't think about little things like that. And I always had heard at D-Day before they went in that, 20% of those guys were seasick and shit, never had been on, because those were ground troops, and they'd never been on boats like that. And they sat out there in that ocean for a week waiting for the weather to break to go into attack. And just little things like that can just, because you don't, like you said, you don't get over it by throwing it up. Ain't like you've been drinking too much. You throw up and you feel better, or you got a stomach bug sometimes, and as soon as you throw up, you feel better. You're sick.
Maybe once or twice somebody said, "Hey, I feel better," and they're back in the game. But generally, like they don't recover. It's a downward spiral from the first time they admit it. They're done.
It's not a great. The experience has not been a good experience if you get seasick at all on anything.
Yeah.
You shoot anything weird?
And again, that's what.
Y'all
sorry?
Y'all shoot anything weird this year?
Weird. We haven't seen. We usually see a couple eider, which we did. We went through a little period of time where actually we'd shoot some king eider occasionally. So that would be kind of the oddity. Jokingly, somebody saved them a trip to go to Alaska or Greenland, that kind of thing. But maybe we don't shoot them, but there's a little bird called a razor-billed auk. That's something kind of an oddity that we'd see. We can't shoot harlequin on the East Coast. We did see a couple of harlequin this year. But it's pretty much, sitting out there, especially on the old 107-day season. I mean, you pretty much, except for maybe like a cinnamon teal. I've seen everything. You see them because they're all traveling south generally early season. Back in the day, there was a tremendous amount of teal that would be flying with Scoter headed south. And, it's the ocean. It's almost like fish, you just never, it's the ocean, so you don't know what you're going to catch. And with duck hunting, it's a big piece of water out there, so you just never really, you never really know what you're going to see. And even back in the day when I first started on Chesapeake Bay side, that was kind of one of the attractions to it, is like you just never know what you're going to see. It's a big piece of water, and probability of seeing anything out there.
The cinnamon teal, that surprises me, because cinnamon teal are not a west or an East Coast bird.
No, I say except for a cinnamon teal.
Oh, okay.
That would be that's the only bird I can say I have not seen. But name me, in the North American North American ducks, what are there? I think pretty much over the years we've seen some of them at some point, just not cinnamon teal.
Have you ever been able to shoot a harlequin out there, or is that something that they took away, or has it always been off the table?
Not in my lifetime, no.
Where can you shoot harlequin at?
West Coast.
West Coast.
Yeah, West Coast, Alaska.
Yeah, that's
Greenland.
That's a big bird for them guys that are hunting at St. Paul Island, I think is what it is. What's the guy's name? Shit, we met him. He was at the real nice guy, Charlie Somerville.
Oh, yeah.
Charlie, and then that's what they shoot a lot of, I think.
Yeah,
and they can shoot
I was there.
The barnacle goose, right?
And
I think they made it illegal now too. I think that it opened it up for a little bit.
I was going to say that there was it's the emperor goose.
There were not barnacle,
permits,
emperor. Yes,
permits for him.
Yep, that's what it was. Now a minute ago you said a rosy-billed auk,
a razor-billed
auk. I'm gonna have to look that up. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, kind of almost. The joke is, I'll say, hey, that's a flying penguin. It's a small bird, but black and white. It's got real little wings on it, and if you look at a picture of them, they're not standing on their feet. They kind of have that look.
I've seen them before. It looks like a little penguin kind
it
of.
does look like a penguin.
Yeah.
So jokingly, penguins don't fly, right? Evidently, or supposedly, and they're not in the northern hemisphere. But I'll say, hey man, that was a flying penguin. Joking around sometimes, and sometimes guys, I'm joking around and they're like, wow, I've never seen a penguin before. I was like, no, that was nothing.
That's the bird in Scotland that they catch with the nets, isn't it?
It's in the puffin family. Puffin would be they're seabirds.
That's what it
so
is.
Like
it's puffins.
The auk, the puffin, a tur. Murs and Turs, they're kind of in that same family.
I think it's the puffin that they do it's in Scotland or Ireland, one of those places up in the UK, and they got these big nets, like just a big ass butterfly net, and they lay down, and those things will come sweeping up over by the ocean, and they'll pick the net up, and that's how they shoot. Instead of shooting them, they catch them in nets.
That's
I think it is the puffin that they're doing that with.
That little thing's cute as a button, though.
That's a fly.
Yeah,
cute as a button.
Yeah, they're. I don't have any reference in here. I thought I had a picture. I don't see one.
They're the size
but yeah,
of
they're neat
teal?
little birds. And again, it's something we can't shoot, but I kind of going out there daily. I get a kick out of seeing them because it's something I don't see a lot of.
Do they travel in big bunches, or is it usually singles and pairs?
Most recently, singles and pairs. If you recall way back, I don't know how many years now, that the Hurricane Sandy that hit Long Island pretty bad, northern New Jersey and Long Island, Sandy. That year, there was actually flocks of them. And they would kind of, at a distance, I'd almost, if you don't know better, you'd say they're old squaw maybe flying at you. They're kind of white and black, and especially if there's a little bit of a line of them. But I'm sure probably a couple of them would get shot at on the East Coast, people thinking that they're an old squaw. But the ox will fly in some small flocks occasionally.
How big a bird are they? The size of a teal, or are they more like the size of a big sea duck?
I'd say larger than a teal, but not bigger than a scoter kind of thing.
What?
But they're bigger than teal.
What's a king eider weigh? Is it bigger than a canvasback?
Yes, but it's going to kings are actually a little bit smaller than a common eider. As far as their body weight, I'd have to say they're guessing probably a good 3 pounds.
So what's a king eider? What's a common eider weigh then?
It's right in that same ballpark again, but like physically, the kings are just, to my opinion, are just a tad bit smaller body. They're still a very big bird, but common eider king is just a little bit smaller bird.
What's
bodied?
Canvasback weighs 3-4 pounds, don't they?
No.
They don't weigh that much.
Yeah.
No. Maybe.
No, I'd say
2.
maybe like you guys probably have a greater bluebill down your way. Probably just cans and a canvasback body that have more of a neck and a head on them. But I would say their bodies, pretty much in line with a greater bluebill.
Yeah,
It's the same thing. Like common scoter body. If you had greater bluebill and a common scoter, the bodies are pretty much the same size.
It says canvasbacks are 2 to 3.5 pounds.
Yeah, I figured 2.
Mm.
What's a mallard then?
Okay.
1.5 pounds?
Probably right around that same.
I just figured they grew way more. Well, when they're wet, they weigh more for sure.
I guess.
I can tell you right now, you can put when I was a kid, we used to hunt this dairy all the
Their
time.
feathers repel water. How are they going to be all
still
wet?
a duck's wet. It weighs more money. It weighs more. I can tell you that much.
all the water gets repelled.
Okay.
You can let it set maybe once it's dead and sit in the water for a while.
You get mud and water and cow shit on them, they get to weighing pretty much. But I was pretty sharp as a young guy, and Tony was not very smart, so I would always volunteer to carry the decoys into when we'd hunt as a kid on this dairy, and then Tony would bring them back. Well, you put 30, 40 ducks in the bag, mud and wet and stuff is a whole lot heavier than carrying them back, the bag back with all the decoys and the ducks than it was taking it out there. He never caught on either.
Why didn't y'all just split it up?
Andy, it's past. It's all thing in the past. He wasn't smart enough to catch on to that.
What year was Sandy?
Oh, man, I would say, I'm guessing like 2010 or 11?
It was the election year. It was 2012.
12, okay.
I think, or wait, it'd have been, Bush was president from 2000 to 2008. Would have been 2012 because it was in Obama's second term when it hit,
Okay.
right? Isn't that right?
So around that 11, 12
Because it was
range.
on election day, and Chris Christie was the governor. I would say it's 12 then.
Did that screw everything up for you guys in your area?
There was definitely for a couple days I did not go. For us, like specifically, the storm was just kind of a high water event where like it just our tide with the push and the flow against the coast. We just had high water, so there was some high water damage, but it wasn't anything catastrophic, if you will. Right? There was board on the boardwalk, boards got ripped up, people's piers. Basically, again, just high water where it floated boards off and messed stuff up like that.
Does it screw
But then I took excuse me.
Does it screw up the migration at all? Displaced birds?
Well, that was the year that I was telling you that after that we saw a tremendous amount of ox. So with not obviously not something we're shooting and not waterfowl, but we did see after that storm, man, we saw all kinds of that's the most ox I've ever seen. As far as the ducks go, no, because again, the migration was ahead of that, so there was birds that were already past the storm, if you will. So it didn't really hurt us in that sense. No. I think again, if you look at a map or a chart, I think a lot of the birds come down and they'll actually hang out in the Delaware Bay north, like they come down the coast, turn up in the Delaware Bay and hang out there some before they head south. So a lot of those birds were already past us, or past the storm. Excuse me.
Has there been a hurricane that's hit your area?
Ocean City direct, the best one or the biggest one was in 1935. There was no inlet in Ocean City. I'm sorry, 37. That's when the when the inlet was formed. I don't know the name of that storm, but that was the one that actually formed the Ocean City Inlet.
Really? What?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Just again a big flood. Well, back then too, the Ocean City was not developed as much as it was. And current day, just south of the inlet is Assateague Island, so that was all one landmass. Ocean City continued on down into what's now considered to be Assateague Island, which is a national seashore now. But just the high water mark with the waves basically breached the beach, if you will, from the back. There was always the back bay was there. Then all it did was just open that up and started. Once you get that flow of water in and out, like it's hard to stop. It moves a lot of sand.
I see.
So even current day, they'll if you pull up a kind of a Google map, you'll see just south of the inlet, the beach is very much west. And at one point, Ocean City and that island were the same, 100 and some years. Well, not even 100 years ago. But currently almost 100 years ago. That was the same shoreline, and that's how much the sand has moved.
Oh, lost him.
Am I there?
Yep,
Sorry about that.
You're good. No, you're good.
I did put it on airplane mode and just got a call somehow.
No worries.
Sorry about that. But yeah, about every 4 to 5 years now, they have to pump sand back onto the beach, Ocean City, to keep that up because the sand is kind of flowing northward.
That's crazy. It's crazy how much a hurricane can just change the landscape of your area. Just shows you how powerful those things are.
There's been a couple where they thought, like down on Assateague, where maybe there was another inlet was formed where they call it like washover, where the waves are busting over the beach, the beach, and it's very low lying anyway. And again, once you kind of get that flow started in and out there from the back bay to the ocean, it's been maybe 8-10 years ago. I can't remember the storm's name. They thought maybe a second inlet was formed there, but it did not. But
do hunters ever get in trouble on the ocean? Do they ever not pay attention, like in your area, or is everybody pretty well in tune with what the ocean's doing and when they should not be out on the ocean? Like, is there Coast Guard rescuing somebody every year in your area? No, but the funny thing is, maybe it's not. Well, it's funny to me. I find it amusing. I'm sitting out there and I'll wave a black flag to a tracked ducks flying along, and especially on a Saturday morning, people still come to the ocean during Ocean City during the off season, and I kind of think somebody's on the 5th floor. They came in Friday night. They're waking up looking out on the ocean, and they're like, "Oh, honey, look, there's somebody in distress waving a flag." So we do get called quite often, the Coast Guard, and I do usually when sea duck season kicks off. I call them. I wake somebody up there early in the morning saying, "Hey, I'm going to be out there sea duck hunting just to give you a heads up." And they have my number on the desk, and I have gotten a call before. Is that you out there? I was like, "Yep, that's us." All right, we got a call. There's a boat in distress, that kind of thing. But as far as on the ocean side, no, there's not much. Knock on wood. No issues with people getting rescued. But this year there was a duck boat on the Chesapeake Bay side that they did have to do a water rescue because they were it was in January. Kind of conditions were rough, and they may be in a boat they shouldn't have been in, kind of thing, trying to shoot a duck, and they did get themselves in trouble. They did not die, but there was in that same period there was an oysterman that fell overboard. He died, and then earlier in the season there was a fishing fellow from like the western shore. His boat ended up way south and on the eastern shore here that they think he had a health issue, heart attack, something, and he went into water and he died. But duck hunting, not on the ocean side so much, but again, like I'm gonna say every year, maybe every other year, there's somebody does die on the Chesapeake Bay trying to shoot a duck. Man, I am just so thankful that I got to deal with sand. having to deal with all that water and everything. And I'm not cut out for it. I don't have sea legs.
It probably is. That's probably my biggest anxiety as far as guiding is like, what's the weather going to do? I'm like constantly, plugged into the weather and the rain forecast and all the other apps trying to predict the wind, and wind makes waves, and that's my big. I really want to be out on the ocean, day in and day out, because that's going to be the best result for everybody. But there's some days that it's a no-go, and that's probably, again, the wind is my biggest anxiety.
How many days a year do you think you have to cancel just because of weather and the tide or whatever?
So this year I was very fortunate. In the Back Bay areas, there were, I'm going to say a lot, but there was many more ducks, a lot of ducks that on these kind of more shallow water areas, places that you can get out of the wind, and we were still productive when we couldn't get out in the ocean. Now, maybe 3, 4, and 5 years ago, those ducks weren't there, so I did kind of get screwed on those days where there was no place to go. Throw it out there. I always say at the end of the hunt, it's like, hey man, this is as advertised, or this was not as advertised, kind of thing. And I am very conscious about charging money. I work hard for my money, and I assume everybody else is working hard for theirs. So I will give somebody the option of like, hey, I can take you to, we can't get out in the ocean. We can go to B or C. B or C is definitely very safe and very huntable. I don't know that you're definitely not going to see the ducks like you would out on the ocean, but I think we'll still shoot some. Do you want to do it? And quite often, yes. But there's sometimes guys will say no. I don't want to go there. Right. So it is. I am. To answer your question, I'll rewind on a year that the ducks aren't on the back bays. In 60 days, I mean, I could lose 6, 7, 8 days from wind. It just depends.
Wow. And it always. I don't know how it is with you, but anytime we make a change of plans because of the weather never comes. You'll be like, oh, it's supposed to be lightning or whatever, and you're just like, let's sleep in, and then you wake up regular time and nothing happens. Like, son of a bitch.
Or the 25 to 35 out of the northwest doesn't take place till noon, not 6 or 7 a.m. We'd been fine. We could have did it for many hours. I did get caught this year. It would have been New Year's Day where it was forecast to change later in the day, and it actually happened much earlier where the front came through. But you were kind of sitting there, not much. We're out on the ocean, not much of a chop, kind of a southeast breeze, and all of a sudden, man, you could see the line coming from out of the northwest, and it's like somebody hit a switch, and the winds instantly, kicked in from the northwest, very, very strong. And there was like maybe a 30-minute window there where like I'm like, are we good? Are we good? Are we good? And then all of a sudden, it just kind of let up a little bit. There was a fellow that was north of us. He picked up and left, but we sat out there, and once you initial push of that front through, yes, it was very strong, but then it kind of fell off on the backside. Relatively speaking, it's still windy, but it was very doable. And the guys had traveled from Kentucky, right, they drove for a 1-day hunt, 12 hours from Kentucky, and they were good to go. When the front kind of changed over, I was like, "You guys good?" They're getting wet, getting slammed with water, and they it was safe. We got our limit, got back, and they thought it was the greatest thing.
Yeah, that's the worst. When it's always that kind of group. You got one day to do it. They drove all night to get there, and it's like, oh, why couldn't I just have you guys for a couple days and we don't even have to risk it? But I mean, it all worked out in the end. So now they got a story to tell about.
Yeah, 100%. The other thing too, man, you could go out there and the ocean will be like glass, and I mean that's the exact worst. The opposite, and it's just as bad as if you had too much wind, right? I mean, you're out there and you can sit there and it's comfortable, but like the birds are not going to get close at all. They fly and they kind of look at the decoys, and we're just sitting there, nothing's moving, the decoys aren't moving. And I think too, like when on those glassy days, the reflection of the boat is huge on the water, and the shots, it's the kind of thing where I'm like, you don't have to take that shot, but that's as close as they're going to get. So that's kind of, if you want to shoot them, that's great, and if you don't, that's fine too. But that's about as close as they're going to get, kind of thing. So, and then usually once everybody says, okay, next one's, and boom, 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 and everybody shoots them and they get them. So, but they were not necessarily, nice close decoying birds.
Now, do you call the shot on your boat? Is that how it works? Or is everybody just kind of on their own whenever they think it's close enough to take it?
usually I'm like saying, let him get here because, somebody's standing up in the bow. They're 100 yards away and he's unloading them. So I'm always like, let him get here, let him get here, let him get here kind of thing. But yeah, I try to, if somebody wants to be in charge, that's great. I don't have to call a shot. But they're like, no, help us out. It's okay. Just get ready. And it's usually the birds they're coming at you. They're either going to sit down or turn. So that's, in my mind, that's as close as they're going to be. Mm-hmm. And, they're hard to shoot on the water. So try to, let's shoot them in the air. And, but it's more of somebody's going to be anxious, wanting to shoot them, much further away when they were coming straight at us and somebody stood up and shot them or shot at them, kind of more scared them than anything else. But yeah, it just depends on the group. I don't take mixed parties. I mean, it may be a mixed party. I don't know, but I booked the trip to you, Andy, and whoever you want to bring, you bring kind of thing. So like sometimes it's guys that hunt together a lot, it's families or it's guys that maybe they don't hunt a whole lot together and they just, kind of pulled somebody from here or there to, to get 4 or 5 or 6 guys to go on the trip kind of thing. So those are the times that maybe everybody's not in sync as far as how they want to shoot ducks.
Mm-hmm. I guess depth perception is a little bit hard out there because there's not really like a point of reference.
100%. It really is like that. And again, you're just sitting there watching them come from a distance. And I know we all watch ducks, geese come from a distance, right?
Yeah.
But a good friend that is a shooting instructor, he's like, it just gives them way too much time that they're coming and like your brain and you're trying to calculate and versus something just flies around the corner, somebody stands up and goes boom and rolls it out dead versus that one that, you see him come from 500 yards away, it's just, to answer your question, yes, the point of reference is an issue, I think.
Yeah. And like, there's even times, cause we hunt out of A-frames most of the time. Like sometimes like grass will be in my face or whatever. And like just having that little bit of an obstruction just kind of plays with your depth perception. You stand up shooting, you're like, oh shit, I thought that was at 20 and it was at 40. My bad, people. And the worst.
It's the same kind of thing. Like, we sit there, everybody wants to shoot them. We're done and we're picking up decoys and like you got birds that actually do work. Like, and we're all standing up or whatever. And like, if you let them work, if you would have let them get here in the morning, that's what you would have had kind of thing. And everybody, a little anxious maybe of making sure they get their shots, get their birds kind of thing. But inevitably, man, every time we pick up decoys, here's a bird that circles the boat, doesn't want to leave because, for whatever reason, that kind of thing. I do think too that, like just talking about eating them, like everybody wants to tell me how stupid they are. Man, I just think that they're conditioned, all waterfowl are conditioned that the big open water just doesn't doesn't pose that much danger to them. And yes, there's birds that are this year's hatch that don't know any difference, either way. But again, tell me whatever you think the smartest duck is, we've shot them in that open boat. The boats have gotten bigger over the seasons, but at the same time, it's still always been an open boat.
Yeah.
So I believe. Good.
I think they pick up on motion or something because that happens a lot with goose hunting. You'll be out there picking up decoys and then you get a group of geese that just locks up better than anything you shot at all morning. And it's got to be the motion or something. Or they're park geese that I don't know about. And they're like, we're comfortable here. They're not going to shoot at us. I don't know, but yeah, that happens quite often out here too. I think they just pick up on the motion from a long way out there.
Yeah. Again, I mean, it's the ocean. There's a couple pictures right here I'm looking at. I mean, it's just big and flat and goes forever kind of thing,
Have you ever tried to hunt them around structures, or is that not a no-go doing that?
So to be legal in Maryland, we must be at least 800 yards from any land. So it's not, if I had permission, if I owned a piece of property or if I had permission of the landowner, I could, I can target, set up, closer to land, but it's kind of this 800 yard rule is to protect landowners. So I've got to be 800 yards from any land.
Could you do it if you own land? Will they decoy right on the shoreline, or would they rather?
There's a couple places. Water? Yes, there's a couple places. Get inland a little bit, and yeah, there's a spot I used to shoot quite a few canvasbacks at. That surf goater would be right there with them. They would come up in that river a fair amount. But yeah, it just depends. It just depends where you're at, kind of thing. Out west, like the state of Washington, we shot all 3 scoter, and like we were standing on a little beach, kind of thing, right? So we were very close to shore there, and the sea ducks had no issue with that. You get above us, like out on Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and all. There's guys that are shooting eider from layout lines, right on the beach, putting up little silhouette stick ups. of eider on the beach, and they have no issue coming close to land.
Do you have to deal with other hunters being close to you?
Current day, no. And when Andy asked about the ocean and people getting in trouble, the last time that there was a lot of people, it was still the special sea duck season. In Maryland, it opened between the first split and the second split of ducks. So if you wanted to shoot ducks on that Saturday, you went sea duck hunting. And in the ocean, that last Saturday of the opening day, maybe 10 years ago, 10 years ago, I was the 8th boat in the ocean. And some of those guys were like shooting layout boats, kind of thing, trying to do it. So when it was the special sea duck season, man, there was much more interest in shooting sea ducks, and the bag limit was bigger. So now they've dropped the bag limit a little bit. There is no special sea duck season. And I think, my analogy to guys is that especially in October, November, if you privately you had a good spot to go shoot, wood ducks, you're probably going to want to go shoot wood ducks before you're going to go shoot sea ducks. Later in the season, maybe if your regular duck season is slow, hey, let's go shoot some sea ducks. But current day with no special season and the lower limit, there's not that much interest.
That's crazy. Did you take your trip to PEI this year?
We did. We actually started, just to kind of switch it up a little bit, Lake St. Clair on the Ontario side, across from Detroit. That's been on my radar for many, many years. So we got to go up there, and Troy Portner, we shot the Lake St. Clair 2 days with him, redheads and canvasbacks and bluebill. That was in late October. We did a little bit of goose hunting with a friend there. We drove over to Rimouski, Quebec, on the St. Lawrence River. I haven't done that in many, many years. As a hunt that probably about in 2008 that we did, and Karen was not a part of that. So she and I we shot eider on the St. Lawrence right there in Quebec, Rimouski, Quebec. Drove down through, stopped in New Brunswick, saw a friend overnight, and then we made our way to PEI. So we got to PEI, just not as many days as in the past.
It sounds like you had a great time, great trip.
It was a very, very good time.
Have you ever shot a
so much so we've got it in the books and got it planned. We're going to kind of revisit that whole trip again this year. It was a fun time.
Oh, that's cool.
Have you shot a Jack Miner band ever?
No. It is on our list this year to do. We're going to attempt to do it in September. Kind of like 10, 11, 12. We got some dates booked that we are going to attempt to do that.
That's in Ontario, isn't it? Or is that Quebec?
Yes. No, Ontario. So it would be very much on the western part of the lake, almost to the Detroit River, and definitely south of Lake St. Clair if you're looking on a map. King something? King's...
The Kingsport?
Kingsville, Kings. It's right on the lake, pretty much. Right on Lake Ontario. I'm sorry, Lake Erie.
Well, you sure live an interesting life, and you're an interesting person. And I tell everybody all the time, if you want to go shoot sea ducks, you need to get a hold of Jeff. He's the man to do it. I would say,
Jeff, you're very kind.
You're the guru of it. You're the best at it, and there's nobody else that's even close to being at the top. So I applaud you for what you've done for yourself. You got the decoys, the whole work, and we appreciate you being a guest on here. I really do. I really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you. And one of these days, I'm gonna come hunt with you. One of these days.
One of these days.
We need to make that happen. 100%.
My problem is I just cannot get away from here.
Well, Jeff,
I understand. Time is time. I understand that.
Now you got this ailment. You might never get up there. You might never get out of that chair, Jeff, with this ailment you got.
Right now, I'm so hopped up on Midol, I can't even feel nothing. I can't even feel my face. It's the hardest thing I took because I didn't want to take nothing else because I didn't want to wipe myself out. But God dang, I'm hurting. If this is a kidney stone, God Almighty, I hope I pee fast and get rid of this.
Go drink some cranberry juice. All right, Jeff, we're gonna let you get out of here before you have to hear Jeff do the death gurgle.
I do appreciate you both having me on. Thank you very much. I do.
Hey, thank you very much. Tell everybody how to get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you.
Easy to find, Pitboss, PITBOSS, waterfowl.com, or, pretty much, I'm laughing at myself here, but you could, I'm easily found. How about this? I'm easily found on social media.
Yes, you are. God bless you, my friend. You have a great summer.
Guys, thank you very much. Peace.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
What a great dude. I'm telling you right now. If I was going sea duck hunting, he'd be the first call I'd make. Wouldn't even think about it. Mike Nelson keeps inviting me to come to Seattle to go too. I would do that also.
I need a day with Little Chop. Little Chop.
You get some motion sickness. I don't know if you can handle it, Andy.
I bet you.
You get seasick in the bathtub, so we'll see. All right, let's get out of here. We got another cool one tomorrow. We got Mr. Arthur Rhodes, played pro baseball for 20 years, will be on with us. God bless you. Have a great day.
Well, you know what, Jeff?
Also,
I've been hitting batting practice, so.
Well, you can maybe give him some pointers. Then. He was a pitcher, though.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
I can tell him what pitch I look for. Take it, yeah.
I still got some Boss dove hunt dates. Holler at me if you're interested in dove hunt dates. It's set up for 1s, 2s, and 3s. It'll be a full house here. It'll be a good time. It's a very, very social event. Come in on Monday, leave on Thursday, September 15, 16, 17, 18, I believe. I don't have my books in front of me. But anyways, holler at me about that. I've got some openings for that. It's a really good time. If you've never done Texas dove hunting, highly recommend it. Peace. God bless. Have a great week.
I'm worried I need Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, you may.
We're 2 days into baseball season.
You get your bed next to mine.
Feeling a little.
Get my kidneys removed.
Like right in here. Right in here from throwing those wicked sliders to those 10-year-olds.
Tommy John surgery.
I think it's something going on, Jeff.
Hey, I watched a new series last night. Started watching it. Masters of the Air. Have you seen that? Steven Spielberg did it. It's on Apple TV.
No.
It's really good. I just did the first episode. It's going to be a really good series.
You know what else is on Apple TV?
What?
F1.
I saw it. I am not watching it. I'm boycotting it. That's all I didn't hear about good.
All because I said it was good, and you're just gonna.
You've watched it 23 times.
You're gonna poo-poo it.
No.
I watched a new Peaky Blinders movie.
Is that good? Because I started to watch it.
Don't watch it before you've watched the series.
I'm gonna have to rewatch that series now that I've got this.
You've never even watched the series.
I have. I've started. I just cannot get into it.
Don't watch the movie before you watch the entire series.
I'm going to go watch the series and give it another try.
It was good, not great. The
movie's not. That's the way.
I mean, it's just
Downton Abbey was the same way.
It is what it is. I mean, you know what I mean? And personally, I don't think that the series finale was all that great either, but they are, with this cast, they're going to relaunch the Peaky Blinders series with the cast that's there and move on for it, which I don't know how to.
The worst ending on any series ever was The Sopranos.
They left it up in the air to let the viewer decide.
And then Gandolfino dies.
Yes, he does die. He's shot.
No, in real life.
Oh, yeah. No, but...
No, he didn't.
Tony Soprano is killed.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
No, that nobody knows.
They have said he is killed. People that made that show said that guy came in and shot him right there. That's how he died.
Well,
it goes to black because lights are out. So he did not live.
The greatest series ever had a shitty ending.
Is it a shitty ending? Because we're still talking about it today. I can't even tell you how the Peaky Blinders series ended. I just know that I was kind of disappointed. You know
one that made me really sad when it ended? Shameless.
Never seen it.
When Frank Gallagher got sucked up to heaven and he's in the chair going up there, I was ready to cry. One of my favorite characters, can't bring him back. He's dead.
Never seen it.
Another great series. Rednecks in Chicago. All right. Peace. God bless. Take care.
Watch for deer. Go check out all of our great sponsors. Listen, if you are not signed up for the Turkey Rodeo, you need to get that way. It is coming up late April. PacificCustomCalls.com. Use our promo code BHP25. Boss Shot Shells, Dive On Industry, Ducks Unlimited, Dirty Duck Coffee, Shin Gear, Looking Glass Podcast, Lucky Duck, Mossberg, Stanfield Outfitters, Cedar Run Decoys, and Mitch Hall Chevrolet.